Hello everyone and welcome to the Illusion of Gaia Randomizer with Apocalypse Gaia tutorial video. I am Don't Bagumi, I'm the creator of this randomizer, and I wanted to create as quick and concise as a video as I could for new players wanting to get into the game and how to play it. Illusion of Gaia is a Super Nintendo game that was released in 1994, I believe, in North America. And the randomizer at the time of creating this is about a year old from its conception. So I have the title screen up right now. You can see that it has a rando code. This is what's called a hash code. And if you're racing with somebody, the same seed, these symbols should all be the same for both you and the person that you're racing. So that's the first thing that we notice here. Let's go ahead and get started. Now I have rolled a seed, and you can roll this seed from iogr.app. That's the website that you can go on to roll a seed. You will need an official US version of the ROM in order for it to work. I have kept all of the settings default for this, except I have changed three things. One, I have changed it from normal to easy, and the reason for that is because there are some features in the game that are easy mode exclusive that I think will be helpful for new users. The second change I've made is that I've changed Dark Gaia to Apocalypse Gaia, and we'll explain that more as we get closer, but that's only the end game. And the third change is I have changed my sprite from Will to Bagu. So, hey. Okay, so in a typical seed, we start here in South Cape just like in the vanilla game, and the way that you beat this game is you have to beat Dark Gaia. In order to beat Dark Gaia, you need three things. First of all, you need to gather mystic statues. There are 6 mystic statues in the game, but any number of them may be required. For default seed, it defaults to 4 statues, so that means that 4 out of the 6 will be required for you to beat the game. And you find out those 4 by talking to the teacher here in South Cape. And for this seed, we need statues 1, 4, 5, and 6. So the statues are, Statue 1 is in Inca Ruins, it's guarded by Castoff. Statue 2 is in the Sky Garden and it's guarded by Viper. Statue 3 is in Mew and it's guarded by the Vampires. Statue 4 is in the Great Wall of China and it is guarded by Sandfanger. Statue 5 is in the Pyramid and it's guarded by the Mummy Queen. And Statue 6 is in the Tower of Babel, and it's guarded by all the bosses in the boss rush from the bottom to the top. Now, with Statue 6, you have a choice. You can either do the boss rush, or you can fight the secret boss, who is Solid Arm, and you get that by going through the mansion. If you defeat Solid Arm, he will warp you right to the top of the Tower of Babel, and you can just get the 6th statue there. So you have a choice there. The mansion is typically harder, but it's also faster, and you also don't get any catch-up upgrades for beating the secret boss like you would from beating the Tower of Babel bosses. Okay, so in a typical seed, we start here in South Cape. You need 4 statues for this particular seed, but you can set it to whatever. You can even set it to 0 statues. You can set it to all 6. You can set it to a random value, whatever you would like. The second thing we need to do is we need to rescue Kara. In the vanilla game, Kara is stuck in a painting in Angel Village, and she's stuck in a painting in the randomizer, and we have to use the magic dust to free her. And she's in one of 5 of the minor dungeons, and the minor dungeons are either Edward's prison, leading to the underground tunnel. The second minor dungeon is the diamond mine. She could be at the end of that. The third minor dungeon is Angel Village, which is where she is in vanilla game. The fourth, she could be at the end of Mt Kress or Mount Temple, which is the one with all the mushrooms. And the fifth, she could be at the end of Ankor Wat. So we need to go rescue Kara, meaning we need to find the magic dust. We need to spread it on her painting and free her from the painting. And that allows us to, essentially in the lore of the game, combine with her to unlock the Firebird attack, which allows us to beat Dark Gaia. And the third thing we need is we need to find the aura, and the aura is what allows us to use Shadow's form, and Shadow's form is required to beat the final boss. So those are the 3 things we need to do in a typical seed. We start here in South Cape. I'm going to pause the video for a second. I'm going to give myself all the items that I need to complete everything in this continent. Okay, so I've given myself all the items that I need for the southwest continent. The overworld, by the way, is divided into 5 continents. In the vanilla game, you start in the southwest and you go in a counterclockwise direction around the 5 continents. And so the southwest continent, the southeast continent, the northeast continent, the north continent, and the northwest continent. The way we set up in the randomizer is you can access any location in whatever continent you're in by going to the overworld. But if you want to move between continents, you may have to unlock items in order to do that. So, all of these items, you'll notice that I have a tracker up. This is actually there's an emo tracker package for this randomizer, and so I'll be using it to kind of show you where the items are. Here we have the magic dust, which is this item right here. And I talked about the magic dust about being required to release Kara from the painting. Also related to Kara is Lance's letter. Now if we use Lance's letter and we open it, Lance will spoil where Kara is in this particular seed. So we know for this seed Kara is in Angel Village. So that helps us. Once we know that, we can just remove it and it's just fine. We also have some travel items here. Here we have Lola's letter, which appears here on the tracker. And what this allows us to do, this is one of the important items that we need to get off of this continent. So if we read it, I heard you need to learn Morse code. Bill knows it. I've enclosed an explanation. You now know Morse code. And Morse code allows us to communicate with Seth, who is an NPC in the vanilla game who turns into a sea monster and who communicates with us with Morse code. And Seth is essentially the boat. He can take us across the sea to other continents. So if you find that, you can talk to either Eric in South Cape. I'll show you where he is. You can also talk to Turbo, the dog, in Diamond Coast. He can also communicate with Seth somehow. I guess they have some animal connection. And then there's also the man who's standing at the entrance of Watermia, and I'll show you where he is as well. So if you know Morse code, that is available to you. Another important item here is the teapot, which is here on the tracker. The teapot we can use at the Moon Tribe, and that allows us to access Sky Garden and sort of use it as a mode of transportation. So that's another way off the continent. Some other things here, we have Lola's Melody, which is here. And this allows us to access Itory Village. If you just go there without the melody, then it'll just kick you back out. You won't be able to access it. So that makes that village appear. The necklace, which appears here on the tracker. If you have the necklace, you can talk to Lily, who's in Itory Village, and she'll jump in your pocket and will help you. And there's a couple things she does to help you. She helps you open up the coffin in Seaside Palace, and she helps you progress through the underground tunnel under Edward's prison. And we'll show you where those happen as well. Speaking of Edward's prison, this is the prison key, and that allows you to escape from the dungeon and access the rest. This is the diamond block, and this allows you to access most of the Inca Ruins. If you have the diamond block, along with any will ability, which would include either Psycho Dash, Slider, or Spin Dash, you can access the majority of Inca Ruins. Also for use in Inca Ruins is the memory melody, which is not there. That is incorrect. Memory melody is over here. There it is. This also allows you to progress through Inca Ruins, and we have 2 Inca statues, A and B, here and here, and those allow you to fight Castoff, who's the first boss and the keeper of the first statue. So, we're here in South Cape. South Cape has 4 items, 1 dark space, and 0 hints. Items, of course, are items that can allow us to progress through the game. Dark spaces can contain abilities. There are 3 special abilities for Will. There is Psycho Dash, which is here. There's Psycho Slider, and there's Spin Dash. And there's 3 abilities for Freedan, who is your second fighting form, and it's Dark Friar, Aura Barrier, and Earthquaker. And those are the 3 there. I don't actually have those, so I'm going to turn those off. But we're always going to be wanting to check dark spaces. In a normal seed, will abilities you can find in towns, and Freedan abilities will only show up in dungeons. So let's get our 4 items and check our dark space. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go on the roof, I'm going to check this dark space for an ability. And there's an ability. If there's a statue over here with a pulsing orb, then that tells you that there's an ability here. And let's see what it gives us. Psycho Slider, which is this one. Okay, now this is kind of a speedrunner's nightmare because Psycho Slider makes this so that we can't access some of the cooler tricks in the game. So I'm actually going to pause and remove that from from my character right now. Okay, and we're back. We're just going to pretend like I never picked that up so that I can show you some of the cooler tricks. Okay, 4 items. One in the bell tower. Here's the jeweler. I'm going to talk to him in a minute. One in this pot by the fisherman. He will always be there, and the vanilla game is kind of random as to whether he shows up. There's one in Lance's house in the basement. And there's one in Will's house by talking to Lola. There we go. Alright, so those are the 4 items. While I'm here, I'm going to show off the reason why we're playing in easy mode. Right to the right of Will's house, this house right here. If you go in here, this is easy mode exclusive, then you have an in-game item tracker. So this takes you to an overworld that you can run around and you can explore all the places. That's the southwest continent. This is the southeast continent. This is the northeast continent. Here's the north continent. Here's the northwest continent. Oh! And that's one of the important things. And then here's Tower of Babel, which kind of has its own continent here in the middle. But as you notice, if you go over a location, it'll tell you how many total items there are. There are 6 items in Inca Ruins, which is where I am. How many dark spaces there are to check. And of those 6 items, or whatever items they end up being, how many you have collected. And I've collected 0 because I haven't been there. If I go to South Cape, you'll see that I've collected all 4 of them. Items collected 4 out of total items 4. So if you ever feel like you're stuck or you're lost, you can go to here and you can determine where you've maybe forgotten an item or forgotten to check a dark space. And to leave, you just go south, and it takes you out. One more thing to check here. I mentioned Jeweler. Jeweler from the original game is a guy that shows up in many towns, and he's sort of like the shop. And he has Doc Holliday quotes from the movie Tombstone, so you're welcome for that. And so you find red jewels throughout the game. You can select them from your inventory. I'm actually going to... I probably have some. Yep. So I have a red jewel right here. If I select it and use it, then I can raise it in the air and it'll fly off to him and it'll be removed from my inventory. So you'll be doing that a lot, because inventory management is definitely a thing. You only have 16 slots and there are no more. So if I talk to him, he says now he has 1 jewel. I can give him all my red jewels, and that removes all the red jewels from my inventory and gives it to him. He now has 2 jewels. But his inventory is really where the money is. He has 6 items at various numbers of red jewels that he will give you. So for this one, at 3 red jewels, he gives me another red jewel. At 5, he gives me another one. At 7, he gives me the teapot. At 14, crystal ball, etc., etc. At the very bottom, my secrets, at 50 red jewels, this can be anywhere between, I think, 36 and 50 for a normal seed. That gives you access to the secret dungeon, which is his mansion, excuse me. And if you wanted to fight the secret boss and get to statue 6 quicker, but more challenging, then you'd go there. And there's actually 1 item there, so that item could be required. The higher this number, the less likely there's going to be a useful item there. Just so you know. So that's what the jeweler does for you, and he shows up in other places as well. Okay, so that's South Cape. I've done everything I can do here, and now I'm going to go to the overworld. I'm going to show you how the overworld works. So like I said, this is the southwest continent. There are 5 locations here, and I can go to any of them that I want from here. I'm actually going to go to Itory Village first. You can't come here unless you have Lola's melody. If I tried to leave, it would just kick me out. But since I have Lola's melody, I'm going to do this first, and I'm going to fast forward through this song. Okay, and if you do this, then Itory Village appears. Okay, and the reason I'm coming here first is because if I have Lily with me, then it makes it so that I can go more quickly through other places. There are 2 items here, 1 dark space and 1 hint. First item is here in these logs. And the dark space is up here behind this Stonehenge looking thing, so you can check for a will ability here. There's nothing, so I'm just going to leave. And the second item requires a will ability to access, but you come across here, and this guy gives you a hint. Pyramid has Inca statue A. So there are some various hints in the game where NPCs can tell you where certain important items might be, and that changes depending on the settings for the seed. Inca statue A showed up because I need statue 1 for this seed. In this room, if I have any will ability, which I've removed for myself, but I'll give myself back Psycho Slider just to show this off. So right here, you can hear it. There's nothing over here, but you hear it kind of react. Any will ability, whether it be Psycho Dash, Psycho Spin Dash, or Psycho Slide, can get through this wall, and this gives you an item. Those are the 2 items in Itory Village. Now, if I have the necklace, which I do, I can go back over here into Lily's house. And if I talk to Lily, she says, "Oh, you found my necklace, thank you so much, let me join you, I may be of help down the road." She's now in my pocket, and that has a couple of advantages. But that's done. We're done here with Itory Village, and we can leave. Alright, next place I'm going to go is Edward's Castle. Edward's Castle has 3 items, 1 dark space, and 1 hint. The items, there's one down here in the basement, in this middle barrel. There's an item. And the other item is being held by this guy. Now he takes a while to get around, so you can wait, but while you're waiting, you could go upstairs and get a hint. If you go all the way upstairs and you go to the guard that's guarding Kara's room, he'll give you a hint. Euro has a hieroglyph. And then by the time you get down here, he'll be hidden behind the pillar. You can talk to him, and he gives you an item. The third item is actually in prison, so you have to talk to the king, and he sends you to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. And so they take you off to jail. And if you wait a few seconds, you'll hear the familiar sound of a pig. Hamlet comes to give you an item. There it is. Now in the vanilla game, this dark space actually shows up in the cell over here to the right, but if you don't have the prison key, you need a way to escape. So we moved that dark space over here, and this shows off a mechanic that you can do from any dark space. There can be an ability here, but there is none. If you talk to Gaia, she'll let you save the game. If you save the game, then she'll ask you if you want to return to South Cape. If I say yes, then it'll warp me back to the dark space on the roof of the school in South Cape. So if you're ever stuck, you can always go back to start with this mechanic. I am not stuck because I have the prison key and I can progress through this minor dungeon. So there's the key. Open the door. And here's our first dungeon. Now if I hit start, up comes a map that shows me where all the enemies are. There are 3 enemies. There's no treasure chests. And above enemy, for some maps, you will see a pulsing thing that says force. Or it might actually say, like HP or defense or strength. In the vanilla game, every room, if you beat all the monsters, you get an upgrade. Either a health upgrade, a defense upgrade, or a strength upgrade. Because of the way we had to balance this game, which we turned a linear game into an open world game, and so we had to scale back the balance, and so we had to remove a lot of the upgrades. But there are many rooms that have upgrades, and so if you hit start, if you see a pulsating force, then you will get an upgrade for killing all the enemies. If there's no force, like in this room, then there's no point in killing everybody, so we're actually just gonna leave. This room also does not have a force. So I'm just going to go quickly through these dungeons so you can see how to get through them and where all the items are. If you miss upgrades in a dungeon, it's okay because oh, I just did a glitch there, by the way. I'll explain that later. Every time you defeat a boss that has a mystic statue, you get caught up with all of the upgrades that you missed underneath that boss. So, there's an item over here. If I beat Castoff, I get all the upgrades that were in Underground Tunnel, which is where I am, and the Inca Ruins. So if you wanted to be fast about it, okay, see this thing that got removed, that barrier, because I killed this enemy? If I go to my inventory and I come back, I can go through that barrier before the animation is complete. So that's a little speed running trick there. This room does not have a force. If I didn't have Lily with me, there'd be one more item I could get and then I'd have to get out of here. But yeah, so Castoff gives you the upgrades from the Underground Tunnel and from Inca Ruins. If you kill Viper, you get all the ungathered upgrades from the Diamond Mine and from the Sky Garden. There's an item. And again, if I didn't have Lily with me, I'd be done. But because I do have Lily, I can progress. But let's keep talking about bosses. If I get Statue 3 and I beat the vampires, that gives me all the upgrades from Mew and also from I believe Angel Village. That sounds right. Statue 4 in Great Wall, I get all the upgrades from Great Wall and from Mt Kress. If I defeat the Mummy Queen, I get everything from the Pyramid, and if I do the boss rush, I get everything from Ankor Wat. So that's how the upgrades work in this game. If you want to get early upgrades and give yourselves a boost, anytime you see a pulsating force in the corner, you can kill all the enemies, but you won't really miss out on that if you just kill the boss. Okay, so you see Lily's flower go off into the corner over here, and that means she's going to help you with these switches. If I didn't have Lily with me, I'd be stuck here. But because Lily's with me, she tells me to hit this switch on the count of 3. Alright, and that allows me to keep going. Okay, I can't hit that switch in my current form, so I'm going to go change into Freejia with this dark space over here. And it appears from killing that guy up in the upper left. In a normal completable logic seed, this will never have an ability in it. This will always be open so that you can change to Freejia or Shadow. If I had the aura, then Shadow could be available here and I could use him. Now I can hit that switch. Okay, so going through this area. I didn't mention it, but the Underground Tunnel has 4 items. 1 dark space, but again, that dark space in a normal completable seed will always be open. In a chaos seed, it could have an ability, but that would mean that logic would assume that you're locked out of the rest of the dungeon because you can't change into another form to reach that switch. There's an item over here on the left. That's an HP upgrade. Let's talk about these HP upgrades. They look like these flaming balls. And you can get HP upgrades, defense upgrades, or strength upgrades. There are some that were given to you in item locations in the vanilla game, and if you use them, your HP increases by 1. In easy mode, that actually acts as an herb, so it fills up your health. In other modes, it doesn't do that, but the same works for strength and defense as well. Alright, and that's the end of this dungeon. There's one more item. This forces you to change back into Will. There's one more item back behind these barrels. If Kara was in this dungeon, she'd be on this wall, and I would use the magic dust to free her, but that does not happen, so I have to leave now. Alright, and that's the Underground Tunnel. This puts you in the basement of the castle, and this guard here throws you out, and he prevents you from entering in the back. So if you have to come back, say, to free Kara, or after you get Lily to clear out the rest of the dungeon, you have to go start from the beginning. So we're done with Edwards and with the underground tunnel. Moon Tribe is next. Moon Tribe has one item and that's it. But on top of that one item, I talked about the teapot earlier. If you go to this little plateau, you'll hear this voice saying, "Heal us, the teapot." So if you use the teapot, then these guys appear. And if you talk to them, and you say you want a lift, they'll take you to the Sky Garden. I'm not ready to go here yet, so I'm going to have them take me back to the Moon Tribe. Okay. In here, there's a little challenge where you have, I think, maybe 20 seconds to kill a bunch of slugs. This will not be in logic until you have a will ability, so either Psycho Dash, Psycho Slider, or Spin Dash. You can complete it without any of those abilities, but logic will not make you do that. Okay. Oh, I actually have 25 seconds. You have more time in easy mode. It looks like I might actually need it. Oh, I'm definitely going to need it. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is pretty embarrassing. But that's fine. If you do it in time, then this opens up and you can get this item here. Alright. I'm not ready to go off this continent yet, so I'm going to go, and I'm going to go to the Inca Ruins, which is the final location, and the major dungeon on this continent. There's 6 total items here, 3 dark spaces and 0 hints. If you have no items or abilities, you can get 1 item for free. And I'll show you where that is. It's way over here. If you kill this guy, then you can make a staircase appear. And here's the item. Alright, check this out. My inventory is full. So if your inventory is full and you can't take an item, then you need to clear space. You will never, the way the logic works, you'll never be locked out. You'll never have access to more key items than you can either carry or use and get rid of. So you can always get rid of red jewels like this and make some room in your inventory. There are also some other things you might be able to do, like for example, if Statue 5 is not required, you can actually remove hieroglyphs. Statue 5 is required for me. You can also remove Rama statues, which I'll show that in a minute. And you may have to dump some herbs. Herbs are not in logic, so that's unfortunate, but it doesn't happen very often. Okay, so if I have the diamond block and any will ability, then I can continue through this dungeon. I guess I should have explained this first. So underneath this enemy, there's a diamond-shaped hole there, and if you just stand on top of him, you can put it there without having to kill the enemy. So that's just out of habit. Okay, we're gonna come over here. First, we're gonna kill this guy, because what this does is this causes that ladder to show up, and that takes us back to the start. And so if we have to backtrack or double dip, then that allows us to do it more quickly. Okay, these broken statues, typically in the vanilla game you'd use Psycho Dash, but you can use anything. You can use Slider, you can use Spin, or you can use Dash. You can also move them by hitting L or R, by spinning your flute. This also blocks some attacks, by the way. So here's an item. We can't access this area yet at the top, but we'll see it in a minute. Alright, climb back up here. I was stuck forever when I was a kid. This little place right here, you're supposed to come down here. Took me forever to find that. And again, we'll need a will move to get past this statue here. Slider's the fastest, and I have it, so there we have it. There's a statue there that I need Freedan's reach in order to kill and progress. So I'm going to go get Freedan. and I'll get an item while I'm at it. You could kill this guy to make a ladder appear, but I've never found a use for that ladder, so I just always skip it. Here we have this situation where we gotta put these guys on top of blocks. You can only all 4 blocks need to be covered, but you can cover one of them. Yeah, and they can be on the corner like that. See this guy over here? That's just fine. Alright, we're making our way to a dark space over here. Just like the one in Underground Tunnel, this dark space, in normal logic, will always be open. So that you can change into Freejia, because you need him to progress through the dungeon. I'm going to be fast forwarding some of this to make it faster. That little guard dash that I just did, by the way, is this little speedrunner's trick. It's mostly for swag, but it does have some uses like right there. And I'll teach you how to do it real quick. You just, as you're running, if really quick, if you let go of run, hit guard with L or R, and hold it down, and then the next frame or two, go back to your run button, you'll do a guard dash. And it looks cool. You go out here, you get an item. The statue will sing to you. It takes forever, so I'm going to fast forward it. And there's the item. Do not come here if your inventory is full. It'll make you listen to the whole song. Then it'll tell you your inventory is full and you have to do it all again. So that's a good waste of time. I'm running low on health, so I'm going to deal with that and be right back. Alright, and we're back with full health. Okay, so I need to make my way back to that statue. And it's kind of convoluted, but here's how you do it. And of course, if you have Shadow, you can also use Shadow here if you want to. Shadow also has a long enough reach. Alright. And that causes this little ramp to open up so that I can jump over and progress. Gotta kill this guy. Double tap to run, if you didn't know. Here's an item. Strength upgrade, that's very nice. I'll actually use that right now. Okay, if I didn't have the wind melody, then there's one more item I can get. Kill this guy, this makes another backtracking situation happen. In case you need to double dip. So there's one item and one dark space that I have access to if I don't have the wind melody. If I do have the wind melody, then I can check one more dark space beyond that. And if I have both Inca statues, then I can go fight Cast Off. So I'll be doing all that right now. Oh, look at that. It's French Vanilla Wind Melody. Alright, and here's a dark space. This one can have an ability in it. But typically you will want to change back to Will here, because you'll need your flute in order to use the wind melody to progress through the rest. Alright, we come to this room full of tiles. The wind melody is long, and it makes one of these tiles glow, and it's random which one it is, so you have to kind of look for it. It's this one, and you wait on it for 10 whole seconds, and you'll hear the sound of the door opening up. There it is. Alright. There's a dark space here that we can check, and this could have an ability in it as well. And it does not, but it is nice to turn into Freejia, so that you can fight this guy faster. The way the bosses work, Will always does 1 damage to bosses, Freejia does 2 damage to bosses, and Shadow does 3 damage to bosses. So if you can be Freejia or Shadow, then it's best. Alright, Now we place these Inca statues. Inca statue A goes on the right statue. And Inca statue B goes on this statue. Okay, and now I am able to fight Cast Off. Alright, so this is the first major boss of the game. This will give me access to statue number 1. If you're really good, you can get this guy in one cycle, but I'm not really good. If you stand over here in this corner, you're pretty much safe from those blasts. Alright, again. Alright, we're done. Forces a turn back into will. We don't have the statue yet, but that's fine. We're going to go to the gold ship and get it. Okay, this is the 6th and final item, which is considered as part of Inca, even though it's not technically Inca, it's on the gold ship. This NPC has an item right here. Crystal Ring. Crystal Ring is one of those items that you can use as soon as you get it. So I just put it on, and now I just have it on for the rest of the game. There's a hint over here. If you run over and talk to the Queen. Gold ship has Crystal Ring. Well, thank you, that's very helpful. You can't get off this ship until you go down here into the hold, I guess, and you get your Mystic Statue. Takes you through this cutscene. And now you can go back outside, you can climb the crow's nest, and you'll get taken to Diamond Coast, which is on the southeast continent. So this is the 3rd way that you could get off of that continent. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video for a minute. I'm going to give myself all the items that I need to complete everything in the southeast continent. Alright, so I now have in my inventory all of the items that I would need if I were to clear out the southeast continent. We have the magic dust from before, because again we have diamond mine here, which Kara could be there, so we may require the dust. We know for this seed she's in Angel Village. Memory Melody is a very important item. You can play this for Neil in his cottage, and that helps him remember how to fly his plane. That is here on the tracker, and he can take you pretty much anywhere at that point. This is the elevator key, and it's here on the tracker. This allows you to progress through the diamond mine. These two are both mine keys. You need both of these to get to the very end of diamond mine to either get to Kara. There's also one item there. And then here we have 4 crystal balls. And you need all 4 of these to fight Viper in the Sky Garden, who's the guardian of the 2nd Mystic Statue. Alright, so starting here in Diamond Coast, there's an item in this pot. And there's a hint with this NPC. If I know Morse code via Lola's letter, I can talk to Turbo here, and he can talk to Seth for me. And Seth asked me where I'd like to go, and I can go to any of these places. I can go back to South Cape. I never showed you where Eric was in South Cape. But you can talk to Eric, who can talk to Seth for you. And it's down here in this cave. Remember the fisherman that was here? If you keep going up here, this is the cave where you can talk to Eric. And you can also go to Watermia, but we're not ready to go there yet. So back to Diamond Coast. That's it for here. Alright, let's go to Freejia next. Freejia is the major city here. There are 5 totally free items here, and you can also talk to the jeweler if you want to. Alright, there's an item in this pot right here. There's an interesting thing where you have to go into this house and you have to talk to this laborer in order to rat him out to the labor traders and get an item from them. In the vanilla game, you have to go all the way back to the alley and do all kinds of crazy stuff. in order to get off the roof. Here's an item. This guy gives you one. And, you know, sneak into his house from the top. But we just left that door open in the randomizer just to make it faster, more convenient. And here are 3 items in rapid succession. There's one in this trash can, one in this trash can, and then if you ratted out the guy, he gives you an item. In this house right here, there's also a dark space. See if there's an ability in here. There's not. Alright. Let's go see where Gem the Jeweler is, and then we'll be done with Freejia. In this house right here near the entrance. If you go up onto the roof, go across this bridge, there's our jeweler. Oh, check this out. If he says maybe poker's not your game, that means your inventory is full. He's trying to give you an item, but you don't have any room. So I'm going to use some of my status upgrades and stuff. Darkfire has been improved. There are 2 Darkfire jewels, and there's 1 Psycho Dash jewel. Alright, now I can talk to him, and he gives me everything. I'm going to give him all my red jewels, and he gives me all the things. I can jump down from here and leave Freejia, because Freejia is dead to me. Alright, we're going to go to Diamond Mine next. Diamond Mine has a whopping 6 items in it, 3 dark spaces, but you don't have access to all the items right off the top. You need a few items to get through. So there's kind of 2 halves to this dungeon. This way you would go if you have the elevator key, which we do, and then there's this other half of the dungeon that we can go through this way. In order to fully clear this section over here, you would need either Dark Friar or Spin Dash, because there's a ramp you have to get up, and either of those in this case will work. You have to hit these 4 switches in order to open up that center part. You could also jump down here if you wanted to go back to the start. Alright, I like checking this room. Oh look, perfect! I like checking this room for a force because there's only 6 enemies and I have to pass by pretty much all of them to clear out this room. So it's real convenient just to kill them all. So I'll get to show this off, what happens if I kill all 6 enemies in this room. Since there's a force in here, I'll get some kind of status upgrade. Now I don't know whether it's an HP upgrade. HP upgrades from room will always give you plus 3 HP, by the way, so they're a little bit more powerful than in the vanilla game. You'll get an HP upgrade, a strength upgrade, or a defense upgrade, all of which are awesome. And it's an HP upgrade. 1, 2, 3, and I've gained 3 HP there, so that's nice. If I had the black glasses and I was wearing them, then instead of saying force on here, it would actually tell you what the item is, so that's cool. There's a false wall right here. You can use, again, any will ability to open it up and get an item. There's also a dark space that appears once you kill the enemy that was right here. And this could have an ability in it. I'm actually going to change into Freedan right now, because I'm going to show you both ways that you can go up the ramp to get an item at the end of this this little section here. You don't have to change into Freedan here. If you have Spin Dash, then you actually probably want to stay as Will, so that you can go up that ramp. Alright, I'm going to kill these guys off. Okay, there's an enemy right here that I can't reach. And he makes this go down, which allows me to go up this ramp from over here. If I have Dark Friar, which I'm going to give myself right now because I'm a cheater, I can charge this attack and I can kill him from a distance. Alright, and he makes that disappear, which means I can go over here and go into this room, break this guy's chain, he gives me an item. There's a Rama statue, by the way. I mentioned earlier that if you don't have to do statue 3, you can remove Rama statues, because they don't lock any items. And so if you don't plan on beating the boss, then you have that prerogative. You can do that. Now let's change into Will and show you how you can do this with Spin Dash. Alright, so now we're Will. If you have Spin Dash, you can charge up, and you have just barely enough juice to get up here. And so that's the other way you can do it. Now, okay, if you progress through the dungeon, there are 2 dark spaces that you can check. You need a will ability to check both of them. But you can access one without a will ability. There are no items back here, so if you're not looking for abilities, you can skip this whole long part. But I'll show you how it goes, in case you're looking for abilities. Kill this guy in the corner to open up that way. Kill this guy in the other corner to open up that way. Kill this guy in the middle to open up this way. Okay, here's a dark space. If you're Will, you're going to want to hold off on that, because here's a false wall, and you need Will in order to break it down. Again, with any of the 3 abilities. Alright, so this one does have a free down ability here. Since I gave it to myself as a cheater, I already have it, and so that pulsing orb is gone. And then you would check this one. Okay, now at this point, you can use if you're done here, you can use one of these to warp back to South Cape, because it's a long way back. You can also death warp, which in easy mode is going to take a long time. That's what I'm going to do, because I still want to go up the elevator, so I'm going to pause and do that. Okay, so I've now died. It sent me to the front of the dungeon, which is good, because that's where I want to go. We have random death quotes, by the way. There are over 50 of them, and so if you play the game over 50 times, you may see all of them. Collect them all. Alright, I'm going to go back into this dungeon because I have the elevator key, and I can go down that second branch of the dungeon. Elevator key is that squiggly key right there. Okay, this is pretty long and linear, so I'm going to be fast forwarding through a lot of this animation. Okay, now we get to a part where there's 2 items, one in either of these rooms to the left and right. I like to go to this left one first because it's super quick and easy. There's a flashing thing right there, and that's where the item is. You don't have to wait for it to flash, but I just did so you could see it. And then there's this long maze-like room over here. Typically I'll do this one last, and I'll plan to death warp out of this room because, again, it's a long way back to the start. And sometimes the quickest way to get out of a dungeon is just to die and make it take you back to the top. And you break this laborer's chains and talk to him, and he gives you an item. Now, if you don't have both mine keys, then you're done at this point. I do have both mine keys though, so I can finish this dungeon. Okay, so here are the mine keys. That one and that one. If you happen to have both of them, you can just talk to this door, and it says, I have both keys. Put in the keys, yes, and it puts both of them in and lets you open it. Okay. This is Sam. Cut his chain, he gives you an item. If Kara is here, then Kara's portrait will... This guy will be gone, and Kara's portrait will be right there. And instead of Sam, you'll have Samlet. Alright, that is everything in Diamond Mine. Alright, I'm going to death warp out of this place, so give me a second. Alright, and we're back. Back to the overworld. Alright, let's go to Neil's cottage. There's nothing you can get here. There's no hints, there's no items, there's no dark spaces. But if you have the memory melody, you can play it for him. And that's what helps him remember how to fly his plane. And he can take you to all of these places. So Niels is where we are. Euro is in the North Continent. Dao is the Northwest Continent. And Babel Tower is kind of its own place. If you don't have both the aura and the crystal ring, you can't progress through Babel Tower. So you only go here. You'd have to warp back to South Cape out of there. I'm not done with this continent, so I'm not going to take him up on his services. Last place to go visit is Nazca, and this is how you access the Sky Garden. Okay, so pay attention to this, because in the vanilla game, there's a specific location right here in this bulb, where there's a tile hidden in the ground, and if you talk to that tile, you can warp to the Sky Garden. Now, we were here a minute ago, because we had the teapot, and if you have the teapot on the South Cape continent, then you can access this early. And you have these cool guys who you can talk to, and they can send you to neat places like the Seaside Palace, which we haven't been to yet. Alright, this is the second major dungeon. We have 4 rooms, kind of like in a hub. And this is where you put your 4 crystal balls. So with each crystal ball that you put in one of these little slots, the floor, the pathway to Viper, the final boss, starts to clear up. Alright, so I'm just going to do these in vanilla order. You start at your top left and you go down. This room has no requirements and has 3 free items. There's one. Here's 2. And here's 3. If I was playing this for real, I'd be taking damage this whole time because, again, the fastest way to get back to the hub... Oh, we have an empty chest. There are 2 empty chests in the game, just so you know. And I would death warp at this point because it's probably... even if I have all this health, it's probably the fastest way to get back to start. So let's pause the video and do that. Okay. So now, that takes me back to here. Second room. If you don't have Dark Friar, then you can't get much out of this room right here. Here, speedrunner trick. You don't have to do it that way. The normal way to do it is to go up the stair. And if you get right up against here and just go straight to the right, don't go up or down, you can get past that statue without having to do anything. In this room is a dark space, and this dark space could have an ability in it. So we're going to check it. Alright, no ability, but I am going to change into Freedan, because I need Dark Friar in order to get any farther. So I'm going to give myself Dark Friar, which is here on the chart, on the tracker, and show you how to get the item from this room. Alright, here's where I use Friar. I have to kill this guy on this little island in order to open up the way forward. Alright, again, this is an excellent place to death warp, so I would normally be taking damage as I go along, if I have the damage to spare. Kill this guy. And there's the item. Alright, let's death warp again. And there we go. Okay, so we're back to the beginning of this room. Alright, this third room over here. Alright, I'm going to show you a couple ways to do this. First of all, there's a free item you can get over here. So, gotta kill that guy in the middle. Opens up that. Go to the dark side. And there's one. Okay. There's one item and one dark space. You're required in the vanilla game to do this big, long, convoluted thing. I'm going to show you the cheater fast way to do it. This is the speedrunner way. And if you don't have slider, this works. So I'm going to remove slider. You can't typically get over these, but if you do a jump slash at just a particular time, you can get over that one, and you can get over this one. So there's the item. And then if you go straight up here, you can get this dark space. Now again, you need to have Freejia to do it. If you stand here as Freejia and you swipe up, you can hit that switch. But you can cheese it as well. I'm going to show you another free trick. If you stand right on the seam on the top of the bottom of these pegs and you do a jump slash, you're now in the middle of the pegs. Now if I tap up and down, I'm now free. And that allows me to access this dark space here. And hey, check it out. There's an ability. Oh, the seed put Dark Friar right here. That's awesome. Okay. Now let's go back and I'm going to show you how to do this room the vanilla way. Okay, so here's the convoluted intended way. And you're going to want to make sure you come into this room as Freejia. There's... Alright. You got to kill this guy. I already did it, so this thing's gone. But there's a place to change in the southeast room or in the northwest room. One of those is guaranteed to be open for changes. Alright, go around this way. That gives us access to this dark space. Alright, come stand over here in this corner. Alright, now you're going to want to hope that you can turn back to will here. But if there's an item here or an ability here, then you won't be able to change back, and you'll have to go all the way back to where you changed into Freejia to change back into will. So I'm going to cheat and just turn into will now. Hey, look at that. It's a miracle. Okay. So again, you will need a will move to complete the rest of this and to get this item. Alright, so you come down here. You keep a running start. You go across here. Use one of your abilities to break down those blocks. Go to the dark side. You can see why speedrunners don't do this, because it's very involved. Alright. Get this statue. Bring him all the way over here. Have him cover that block until those things go up. Alright, and then go back the way you came. Alright, break down these blocks again. And line yourself up along the top here and just run straight left without stopping. And there's your item. Alright, back to the top of this room. Alright, death warping is fantastic. And before I go into this final room, there actually is a dark space here that might have a will ability in it. So I recommend checking this out. Alright, so this room has a dark space, and 2 items. In order to get the items, you need either Dark Friar or Aura Barrier. Alright. There is a dark space in the upper left corner. I'm going to go visit that first. If I go to this corner, that snake over there gets activated, and it makes it go a little bit faster. This is one of the dark spaces. Between this one and the one in the southeast room is one of those is guaranteed not to have an ability in it. Alright. Changing into Freedan. Alright. Now again, you need to have either Dark Friar or Aura Barrier. I'm going to start charging up. I need to be able to hit that guy and activate his sword. Obviously, I can hit him with Dark Friar with that thing, but you can also hit him with Aura Barrier. If you stand along this bottom part, Aura Barrier is long enough, and then you can move him 1 tile up. Don't move him farther, otherwise you'll have to reset the room, and open up that slot. You now have access to these 2 items. Alright, let's go up first. Up. Alright, loop back around to get the other item. Bottom. I messed up the trick. Unless you're in easy mode, I don't recommend doing that anyway. Alright, my inventory is full, but I really don't care. Okay, we're done with Sky Garden, except for Viper, so let's go back to the top of this room and go do Viper. I actually changed my mind. I'm actually going to show you this one part right here. To the left here is where that dark space was, and I turned it into Freedan and I came back here. If you need to be Freedan in order to access that dark space in the southwest room, this is how you would get back to the foyer. You'd go north here. You'd jump down this little area right here. And you would just hold right to go back to the start. So there we go. My health's a little low. Gaia will always heal you. So if you have access to a dark space, you can get back to full health. Alright, let's fight Viper. You see that I'm doing 2 damage, a full damage bar to this guy because I'm Freedan instead of Will. I mentioned that before. There we go, and there's our second Mystic statue. There it is. And then you'll automatically change back to Will, and you'll warp to the Seaside Palace. This is considered part of the northeast continent, so I'm going to pause and give myself all the items for this continent. Alright, so here's my inventory showing all the items that you might need to clear the northeast continent. We have the Magic Dust, of course. Angel Village is on this continent, and Kara could be there. Here we have the Mew Palace key, or the Seaside Palace key, which allows us to open this door that's directly behind us at the moment. This is the Purification Stone. We use this in Seaside Palace to get an item. These are 2 Statues of Hope. These allow us to progress completely in succession through Mew. And these are 2 Rama statues. These allow us, sort of like the Inca statues, to access the vampires. And this is the Will. And the Will allows us to travel between the northeast continent and the north continent. You can travel from Watermia to Euro and vice versa. Okay, so this is Seaside Palace. There are 5 items here, 1 dark space, and 0 hints. You need both the Purification Stone and Lily in order to get all of the items here, but you do have access to 3 of them for free. Alright, this used to have an ability in it, and here's how you get to the items. There's one item in this right room over here. You saw that item we just passed by. You skip this door and you go up to get this item. Now you can take this door to progress. Skip that door. That door is where you would go after you use the purification stone to get that item. But there's nothing there right now. Alright, second area. If you have Lily, you can go upstairs here, and you can open up these coffins. This one on the left has an item. And actually there is a spoiler here. Did I say there's no spoilers? If you open the second coffin, you'll get a spoiler. Killer 6 says hieroglyph. The Killer 6, by the way, is a particular set of enemies in the pyramid, room 3 of the pyramid, that's especially long and difficult, and so a lot of people put it off. So it'll spoil. If you go all the way to the left here, here's an item here. If I go through this door, those gummies that I failed to kill are gonna kill me. So if I line myself right center on with the thing, and I do a jump slash into it, then I can damage them as I come out. Oh, hold on. I should have gone down this way. Okay. I would be done here if I didn't have the purification stone, but I do, so I'm going to go in this room. Use the purification stone. Long cutscene. Fast forward through that. And now, the enemies were people the whole time. Alright, and that gives us one item, which is being held by the NPC that we have affectionately called Buffy, because in the vanilla game, this NPC is the one that stole the key from the vampires, and so it's pretty badass. Alright, here's the room where Buffy is. Alright, and that's all we can do in the Seaside Palace. If you don't have the Seaside Palace key, then you'd have to use that dark space to warp back to start. But since I do have the key, I can open it up here. Alright, now this takes you to Mew, but in the randomizer you can also go through this wall in order to access Angel Village. We'll do that later. Alright, let's go into Mew. Mew has 7 items, 2 dark spaces, and no hints. You don't necessarily... You of course don't have access to all the items if you don't have anything, but you can access quite a few items for free. I think probably 3 or maybe even 4. But you would need both Statues of Hope and Psycho Slider, in order to access every item in this dungeon. And you would need the Rama statues on top of that in order to fight the vampires. I'm just progressing quickly through this dungeon. Alright, this is the first Room of Hope. If you have a Statue of Hope, then you could come here to drop it off. Long cutscene. Alright, if you don't, you can just skip it, because there's still items to get over here. Alright, 2 more items over here. There's one. Alright, and there's one in the middle of this floor. It's right where these eyes from that statue and the eyes from this statue intersect. You just hit the attack button and you get it. Okay, this is a good place to death warp, so I'm going to do that and start again at the top. Alright, back at the top. Now, I've activated the first Statue of Hope. If I have Slider, I can go get an item. I'll show you where that is. If I don't have Slider... Oh gosh, I should probably show you that. Alright, I'm going to show you this first. Alright, if I have Slider, I can go through this hole right here. Come down here. Alright, and there's a little hole right here. Behind this is our other item. If you sprint into this, then you can go up that ramp pretty quickly. I think you're intended to bring it closer, which makes it a little easier. Unfortunately, you can't use Slider to just go up that ramp. It's slightly too long. And right here is an item. Black glasses. This is another item you can just use. And now if you have the black glasses, like I mentioned before, you can see if there's a force gem in a room, what ability actually gets upgraded. I'll continue this in a pause. Okay, if you don't have Slider, there's still a dark space that you can check, but it's a pain in the butt because you have to go all the way around. So I'll show you some of it. There's a shortcut here. If we had gone back the way we came, then we could have gone that way. But I'm going to show you, if you don't have Slider, the long way. Okay, you go down here. There's a dark space over here in this direction. It doesn't really... It's always going to be open for you to change into Freedan or Shadow. And the reason for that is because we believe that the original game intended you to use Dark Friar to kill a specific enemy over here. So we're always going to keep this open, and you won't be required to go the way that I'm going unless you have Dark Friar. You can definitely cheese it. You know, it's not difficult to do. But we just figured we should stay true to what seemed to be the intention of the developers of the original game. And so I'll show you the way that we think the developers intended you to do this part. Alright, so it's this golem right up here that is blocking your way. And we think you're supposed to use Friar to get him out so that you can do that. Let me show you... maybe later I'll show you how to do that with Will. But, yeah. Kind of a speedrunner trick. Okay, so at this point right here, remember when we did the slider and we came down here and we continued on? This is where we are. So this is where... So that shortcut, if you had slider, would take you to that part right here. We've done this before. But instead of going through that little hole, we're going to keep going around. And around. And around. And around. And around. So this dark space can have an ability in it. And it might be required that you have to do all of that. For example, if Slider is here and you only had access to one Statue of Hope, then that's how it would have to be. Alright. Back to the top of this dungeon. Okay. The second Statue of Hope place is actually pretty close to the start. So it's pretty convenient. And here it is. And this gives you access to 3 more items. If you have Slider. If you don't have Slider, if you don't have Slider, you can still access all 3 items, but you have to go all that long way around, like I showed you before. I'm not going to do that. There's one. Alright, taking the shortcut. Okay, you saw how we got to this point. If we went the long way around, we would come in over here. You could do that, and you could come down here to get this item. Watch out for the flashers. Yes, that's actually what they're called. Contrary to popular opinion, they are not called Wizrobes. It's the wrong game. Alright, since I have Slider, I can take this shortcut over here to get items over here. If I did not have Slider, I'd have to go all the way around like I did before. See that's the dark space we were at before? I'd have to go the long way around and then go down that ramp to get to this area. You can let me by, bro? Okay. That's all the items and dark spaces that we can get here. The only thing left are the vampires. And if you have both Brahma statues, which are right here, then you can fight the vampires. The vampires don't guard any items. They don't give you any progression, so you can save them to the end if you want to. You're not going to miss anything by doing that, and you may not be required to fight them at all. Because I'm a sissy, I'm going to fight them as Shadow. Let me give myself the aura here really quick and show you how this works. Okay, so I've given myself the aura, and if I use the aura, then when I go into a battle dark space where I could change into Freedan, Shadow's statue appears and I can change into him. Alright, I have my Rama statues. Let's go fight the vampires. Flasher, please. Now during this fight, I'm going to be showing off, since I'm using Shadow, I'm going to be showing off a kind of a speedrunner trick called Aura Glitch. And it's not that difficult to do, really. If you attack, and then the next frame or two activate the aura, then while you're melting in aura form, see this is what it looks like when you use aura. You melt, and you come back, and you're invincible that whole time. But if you attack, let's see if I can do it. Oh, I can't attack in this room. That's the problem. If you attack and then immediately do the aura, then you'll be dealing continual damage as you're melting, and so it's very useful in this fight, especially. Yep, see that? Alright, 1 down. 2 down. Easy fight with Shadow. Okay. When you're done, you talk to this bomb. and somehow you get warped to this room where you talk to this main shadow, this statue, sorry, and he gives you the third mystic statue. Go through this, and you're warped back to the beginning of the dungeon. That's Mew. 7 items. Alright, so now we can go through this door I mentioned before, and now we are in Angel Village. Okay, there is 1 item and 1 dark space that we can check here in Angel Village. We can also go to the overworld if we come out this way. And you can see what places are accessible. We have Watermia, Great Wall of China, and the Angel Village. Okay, so again, there's 1 item and 1 dark space that you can access for free. There's also a dungeon here, but you won't be able to progress anywhere in that dungeon unless you have Psycho Slider. Alright, so here's the 1 item in this fountain. Gem the Jeweler is here, so we can talk to him, give him all our jewels. And in this room over here is the dark space, and this could have a will ability in it. And it looks like it does in this seat. Alright, if I don't have Slider, I'm done here. If I do, then I can continue on this way, and we can go to the dungeon. This is one of the dungeons that could have Kara in it, and in fact we know that she is in this dungeon in this particular seed. Now, this is a pretty linear dungeon, but it does have some tricks to it that you'd have to know about. Alright, first trick. You go to this wall, and it opens up. You know that it's there because your hair is going. At least that's what the game says you should know. Alright, here's an item. This room is lovely if you have spin. It's a little hard to thread the needle here. It takes a little bit of practice. See, I failed it there. You could use Slider to get past the wind tunnel. Alright. Next trick, you have to go to this in the back. Again, find the doorway there. Okay. If Kara's here, and we know that she is, we take our magic dust into this first room, and here she is. We spread the magic dust on it, and she goes away, and that tells us that we have fulfilled that part of the end game situation. There's an item. And now it's time for Ishtar's puzzle. You can get 3 items for completing this. It's a series of rooms where you have to find the differences. The first in the series of room will always be the same. So we study this room, we will look at it. There's going to be 1 difference, and these differences are randomized. So there are a bunch of differences that it could be. And this vase right here changed color. The hitboxes are a little wonky, so make sure you're right on top of it. And this vase changed color. By the way, Ishtar has this apprentice who blocks you from moving on. This apprentice has a hint. Snake Game has 2 red jewels. Snake Game is in Dao, and it can take a long time, so... Okay. This is an interesting room. So there's a red jewel in here, so if there's a red jewel, you know, the same item in the next room, then you'll see a difference in the room. If you don't see a difference, then you know that the chest is different. I don't see a difference, so I know it's the chest. Yep, apple. Last room. The rock is missing. Yoop. Fast forward to the end of this room. Final item here. There we go. By the way, if you find yourself in a situation where you forgot to get one of the chests in one of these rooms, it's in this room over here. If you try to go back, you'll get this thing saying you can't open the door because you've already been there. If you come and you talk to Ishtar, he says again, and that starts the puzzle over again. So you can go back and get those even if you miss them. Okay. You could run all the way back through the dungeon if you wanted to, but that's silly. It's much, much faster to go to this first room where there's enemies if you left any enemies in here and just death warp. So I'm going to be working on that for a few seconds, and I'll see you soon. Alright, we did it. Alright, that's Angel Village and Angel Dungeon. Alright, next up we're going to go to Watermia. Alright, again, this is Northeast Continent. Alright, Watermia has 4 items, 1 dark space, and 1 hint. One of the items is kind of annoying, because you have to wait for this lily pad to appear. So I'm going to show you the order that I get the items, and I think it's the fastest way to do it because it optimizes that lily pad timer. So Lance has an item here. I have just enough time to go back behind the house and check Kara's diary for a spoiler. Anne has a strength jewel, thank you. Anne is the fetch quest in Euro. You bring her an apple and she gives you an item. There's an item in this pot right here. And I have just enough time to come all the way to this corner. That lily pad is right there waiting for me. You have to stand in the center of the lily pad. If you stand along the edge, then the lily pad doesn't take off. And this guy gives you an item. My inventory is full, but I'm a cheater, so I can give myself whatever items I want. There's one more item and one more dark space. The item is in this gambling hall right here. Over here. And this is the jeweler. So I can give him stuff, and he's giving me more stuff. If you still need abilities at this point, if you're still looking for abilities, there's a dark space in this leftmost house right here that you can check. And that's it for Watermia. Oh wait, no, that's not it for Watermia. Okay, so if I have Lola's letter and I know Morse code, this is the guy that can take me back to all those areas before. And if I have the will, which I do, there it is, then I can talk to this guy with the crux, because you need crux in order to get over to Euro, and he can take you over to Euro. I'm not ready to go to Euro yet, so I'm going to talk to the same guy over here, and he's going to take me back. So that's some intercontinental travel there for you from Watermia. Finally, let's do the Great Wall. Great Wall has 4 items, 3 dark spaces, and no hints. If you want to complete Great Wall, you need Dark Friar and Spin Dash. But the 4 items are free if you don't have any abilities. Skip that first ladder. Second ladder. First item is this sparkling thing, and it's nothing. Thank you. If you have Spin Dash, it actually might be faster to die and then just Spin Dash over this level, but this is the intended way to do it. Okay. Second room. Fall.
item behind these guys. And there's another item in this room, sparkling on the ground like the first one. Okay, so you have all these doors. You're looking for the door with the sparkling thing. So that one right there. You go through that door, you hit the switch. You go in this first door on the left, and now you can progress. There used to be a barrier there that wouldn't let you pass, but then hitting that switch allows you to progress. Okay, last item is through this first door right here. Okay, so we have some dark spaces to now check. I'm going to show you the fastest way to check the dark space in this room first, and this works if you have a slider. This is a speedrunning trick. I'm going to do 2 jumps and I'm going to spam attack, and the slider stops me from going too far. And I can backtrack through here and check the dark space this way. And there's a dark space. This can have an ability in it. Now you're intended to be Freedan and to do it this way. I'll show you. Okay, and that puts you to the next room. So if you had gone down that slope and just kept jumping, then you would end up in this area. And you would be here, and you wouldn't be able to go back because you can't reach this thing. You're intended to have Freedan. If you don't have slider, there actually is a recourse here. You can come back, and if you do a double dash, you can just barely hit the switch. You know, so you double tap, dash to get just a little bit, and if you do it fast enough, you can get through. And of course, the intended way is to go over here. This room has one dark space, which, again, will always be guaranteed to be open because you need Freedan in order to get past this room. But you would turn into Freedan here, backtrack, and then use his long sword to go back and check that dark space. So those are the 3 ways that you can get to that dark space. If you have slider and feel fancy, if you don't have slider and feel fancy, and if you just want to do it the vanilla way. So vanilla way, I'd go back as Freedan and hit the switch. But I'm going to skip it because I already did it. At this point, if I don't have Dark Friar, then there's nothing I can do. But I'm going to give myself Dark Friar so that I can kill this guy. Alright, and that opens up this barrier right here and allows me to progress. Little fancy maneuvering there if you want to do that quickly. Okay. Now, if I wasn't looking for abilities, I'd need to be Will in order to jump over this part. I need to have Spin Dash. If I was not looking there, if I go down here, there is one dark space that I can check for abilities. But if I don't need abilities, then what I would have done is as soon as I killed that guy, I would have run back, changed back into Will, done this room as Will, and then just jumped over and skipped this dark space. But if you're looking for abilities, there could be an ability in this dark space, so I'll show you how to get to it. You have to kill these 6 statues. They're the ones that look a little different. And if you kill them, then the dark space will appear. Alright, and there it is. Let's hope I can change back to will. I can. Okay, so that is everything except for the final boss. Again, to access the final boss, you need Spin Dash, and you need to fight it as will. So, Sandfinger, you need to fight as will, which is kind of annoying, but such is life. Alright. Alright, here we go. Let's fight some Sandfinger. It was recently discovered that if you stand to the left of one of these tiles, one of those vents, then you have a better chance of it being that pattern. And if you stand to the right of it, you have a better chance of it being the up and down pattern. The left-right pattern is slightly faster if you're better than I am at the game. The pattern you really want is the egg pattern, which is this one. You get a lot of good hits in it. And that's the up and down pattern that's technically the slowest. Yeah, try to nip those little babies in the bud, because they can be annoying if you don't kill them. Alright, it's just pretty much just do this kind of stuff, so I'm going to skip ahead to the end of the fight. Alright, he's down to one hit now. Alright, there we go. Fourth Mystic Statue. Alright, this ladder appears. And if we go right, then it warps us back to the beginning of the dungeon. That's Great Wall. Okay, we're done with this continent. We're ready to go to the North Continent. There's a couple ways to get there. If we're already here on this continent, the only way is to go through Watermia and again talk to this guy. If you have the memory melody and you played it for Neil, then he can take you here in his plane. Okay, Euro has a whopping 7 items, 6 of which are free, and 1 of which you need the apple in order to get. This line is faster than vanilla, but it's still annoying. 2 items in this room. My inventory's full, but I really don't care. Yeah, let's keep going. There's an item. There's an item. There's a hint in this room. These 2 guys are arguing about Monty Python. This guy on the left will give you a hint. The jeweler is in this room. This is a real nasty location. This house right here. There's a door that's hidden that you can go inside, and this guy gives you an item. And there's an item here. Okay. There's also a dark space that you can check for a will ability. It's this little house right here, 2nd floor. There it is. Alright, the last item, you need the apple, so I'm going to take a break and give myself all the items I need to clear this North Continent. Okay, we're back. Here's all the items that we need for this continent. Again, magic dust. We have 2 minor dungeons that could have carrot in them, Mt Kress and Ankor Wat, so either one of them could need the dust. The apple we use here in Euro, and that's a fetch quest item that we give to Anne. I'll show you where she is. The Gorgon flower is needed to get an item in Natives Village. The large roast is a travel item that can take you from the North Continent to the Northwest Continent by way of Natives Village. We have 3 mushroom drops, and these allow you to progress ever deeper into Mt Kress or Mount Temple. And here are the black glasses, and this allows you to progress in Ankor Wat. Alright, so let's go turn in the apple. We go all the way up here to the mansion. And Anne is in this far room over here. You don't have to equip the apple, you just talk to her, and she gives you the item in exchange for the apple. This room in the middle here, Neil is here with this, you know, if you have restored his memory, then he'll show up here. If not, he won't be here because he'll be stuck in his cottage. But from here, he can take you, you know, back to Neil's. You're already in Euro. He can take you to Tao. He can take you to Babel. All that. All right, that's Euro. Let's go to Natives Village. North Continent has 4 locations. There's Natives. Natives Village has 2 items and 1 dark space. One of the items is free. One of them is hidden behind the Gorgon Flower. So here's the free item. And if I have the Gorgon Flower, I use it on all 3 of these statues to make it disappear. And then this middle statue gives me an item. There's a dark space back here if you need to check for an ability. And either of these boys right here, if you have the large roast in your inventory, which I do, then you can give it to him to eat, and then he can take you to Tao. If you want to go to Tao. I don't want to go to Tao, so the way that I would get back is I'd talk to this guy. He gives you 2 items. Yep, and then he can take you back to Natives Village, so. Alright, so that's it for Natives Village. Let's go to Mt Kress. Everybody's favorite. Alright, I'm going to go pretty quickly through here, because this dungeon is horrible. And it's all one big maze, but I'll show you the way to clear it out. You need spin dash to even access anywhere useful here. But it does have 5 items and 3 dark spaces. Here's the first dark space. This could have an ability in it. There's really no reason to switch to any of these guys because Will is way faster, especially with spin. 2 of the items are free. The other 3 are hidden, respectively, behind the 3 mushroom drops. If Kara is in Mt Kress, then she would also be hidden, locked behind all 3 mushroom drops. Alright, there's 1 item in this side room over here. It makes you go all the way around, but once you get to this point, you can kill this second Yorick, and it opens up a shortcut that you can get back. And if you die at some point before getting this item, then you can, you know, use that shortcut to get back to where we were. Alright, so this takes us back to the entrance that we were just at. The second free item is in this room to the east. Alright, there's 1 dark space and 1 item that we can check over this way. There's a dark space that you can check. That can have an ability. I highly recommend charging Spin Dash for this long section here to get this 1 item. Charging it again. And you can use the slides of Whimsy to get you back to the entrance to this room. Alright, if you had no mushroom drops, you're done. If you do have mushroom drops, you can come up here and use one of the mushroom drops to cause them to grow and open up a new part of the dungeon. Alright. Alright. Over this way is an item. Over that way is the second mushroom drop place. So we'll come back to the mushroom drop location. We'll get this item first. This room is much faster if you use spin dash. And all these sprites are going to catch up with you right about here, so you want to kind of spin through them all. I should have spun through here too, but that's up to you. All right, backtracking back to this room. Use our second mushroom drops. All right, there's the other mushroom drops. Up here is the fourth item, and also the last dark space. This room is legitimately the worst. Oh wait, this way. No, not this way. This way. I'm getting the item first, and then I'll backtrack and get the dark space, which is down there. Item. Okay. To get out of here, you gotta go all the way up north. Alright, if you don't want to check the dark space, you can just keep going south and around to get back to the entrance. The dark space is off. Just keep going right whenever you can. Just right from the entrance. I think you can get there from this way. Yeah, you can. There it is. And, God help you, that could have an ability in it. Okay, final mushroom drop location right here. One more item and potentially Kara can be here. This is an empty room, just navigate through it. And final item. If Kara's here, she'll be floating in the air right here. Alright, I'm going to death warp back to the top of this dungeon, and we'll do Ankor Wat. Alright, and back to the top, and to the overworld. Okay, Ankor Wat's the final place we can go on this north continent. There are 7 items, 3 dark spaces, and 1 hint. And Kara could also be here. There is 1 item that's free at the start, but if you want anything else, you need both slider and a spin dash. And beyond that, if you want to progress through the rest of the dungeon, you will need either Earthquaker or Dark Friar with both upgrades. And technically you also need the black glasses. Alright, kill this bug. Slide. Kill this bug. This room has nothing in it, but if it has a force, you can kill those enemies over there if you want to. If you forget this chest, it's a big pain in the butt, so don't forget it. Because if you do this, you can't get to that chest anymore, and you have to loop all the way back around and do all that again. Okay, we've actually been in this room, just not on this side of it. Okay, so down right below me is where we entered. If we kill this bug over here, then this opens up, so we can bypass everything that we just did. Okay, let's talk about checkpoints. At this point in the garden, I have just set a checkpoint, which means if I die, I don't warp back to the top of the dungeon, I warp back to this point. Alright, there's, I think, one more checkpoint that happens in this dungeon. So the thing with this is that once you're done with this dungeon, you can't just death warp out of it like the other dungeons. Okay, there's a dark space here. It will always be open to change into Freedan because you need Freedan to progress. Again, you need either Earthquaker or you need both upgrades of Darkfriar. And I'll show you both of those methods. Okay, this room. If I have Darkfriar, I can go to the right to access a dark space if you need an ability at this point. You can also use Shadow. I'll show you. Okay, again, there's no items over here, so if you already have all the abilities you need, you can just skip this. So that's the roadblock. You kill this guy on the right, hopefully without messing it up, to open up the way. And this takes you to a dark space. This could have an ability in it. Shadow, his reach is just far enough that he can. Oh wait, I wonder if this guy can hit. I don't know if you can hit him on this side though. Shadow's reach is just long enough that you can hit the guy, so you can use Shadow to do that as well. But usually by the time you get to this point, you don't need any abilities. So this is where we entered from the garden. You go to the left. Okay. Now check this guy out. Alright, so that guy, if you try to get all up on him, he gets down and starts spinning, and blocks the way. The way you're intended to do it is you're intended to use Earthquaker, which you hit attack as you're falling, and it freezes him in place and you can just run right by him. Okay, another alternate way of doing it is if you have both Darkfriar upgrades, you can let loose a fireball here, and then when it gets below him, activate it again and it'll explode. Now the speedrunner way to do it is to line yourself up just to the left edge of this, let loose a normal Darkfriar, go up and to the right, and keep doing that until he dies. He just did it in one that time. Okay. Okay, little tip here. Up here, there's an item, but there's another checkpoint over here that we want to set. And we want to be Will anyway, so we're actually going to abuse the death warp system. So there's the other checkpoint. If I die at this point, it warps me right here. And I want to be Will because I need to have Slider in order to progress. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go this long way to get this item. And once I get the item, I'm going to die. That's a really trolly place for the aura, by the way. And if I die and I have no dark points, if I have no life, then it takes me to that checkpoint that I just set, and now I'm Will. So it's just what I wanted. Alright, let's keep going with this monstrosity of a dungeon. Okay, there is an item if I go to the right. If I need an ability, then I'm going to go this way. Alright, so this room right here, see those floating crystals? I'm wearing the black glasses right now, and so I can see just fine. If I'm not wearing the glasses, this whole room turns white, and it's impossible to see where you're going. If you know your way around this room, you can do it. It's like doing the dark rooms in Link to the Past. And even if you don't have the glasses, if you just go to the right as far as you can, and then go down, and then you can fall through here. This is actually in logic, because the vanilla game wants you to do this, and you can access this dark space right here. But this puts us right next to where this item was, that if, we just went to the right. So a lot of times, again, you're not looking for items at this late point in the game. See that shiny thing on the ground? There's an item. So a lot of times you're not looking for items, and so you would just go this way that I'm going. You just, instead of going up the stairs and going over and falling down, you just go to the right and get that item and then come back. Alright, to get the item over here, we need slider, fall down this one, and there's an item. Alright, let's see if I can do this strat better this time. Nope. Definitely not. Okay. There's one item before we get to the end, and then there's an item and maybe Kara when we do get to the end. Okay, we call this one Forgotten Chest because you don't want to fall down that thing first. You want to go this way. Get this chest first. Now we fall down. Alright, now it's just a matter of navigating around until we get to the end. Alright, one last empty room. And here's the end. Alright, so this guy gives you the final item. I'm actually going to take his item, because if you take his item and then talk to him again, he gives you another spoiler. If Kara is in Ankor Wat, she's right up against this wall, and you would use your magic dust. Okay, that's all the places that Kara could be. We visited all 5 places that she could be. I'm not going to death warp at this point, because again, that only takes you to like the second third of the dungeon. So I'm going to show you what I do. I go down here, and I quickly make my way to this dark space, and I use it to warp back to South Cape. Alright, now I'm actually going to take this opportunity to show you some of the ways that we can travel around. So I want to get back to the northwest continent, because that's the place we haven't been yet. I'm going to choose to have Eric take me to the Diamond Coast, and then I'm going to have Neil fly me to Tao. Alright, so we've been here before. This all looks familiar. We already played the memory melody for Neil, so he can take us to Tao. Okay, we are now in the northwest continent. Only Tao and the pyramid are here. But I'm kind of lumping in Babel Tower and the mansion, even though they're kind of their own things. But I'm considering them in the northwest continent. Tao has 4 items. They're all free. We already got 2 of the items. You just talk to this guy, and you say, "Yes, I am Will," and he gives you 2 items. There's a dark space here if you need to look for an ability. This is the room where Neil is. Here's the jeweler. You can talk to him. Alright, hidden over here in the grass behind this truck is an item. Here's a hint. Sky Garden has Dark Friar, thank you. And this is the snake game. Alright, so you talk to this guy. Ooh, very nice. This is the shortest it can be. So it can be anywhere from 10 to 60 seconds. And the number of snakes you have to hit is dependent on how long the game is and what difficulty you're at. I'm at easy difficulty, so I only have to hit 8 snakes in 10 seconds. It's nothing. And if you do it, he gives you an item. And of course, if your inventory is full, then you have to do it all again. That's Dao. We're done here. Let's go to the pyramid. Pyramid has a whopping 12 items. It does have 2 dark spaces, but neither of them are going to have an ability for you. Alright, if you kill this guy on the right, you get access to this dark space. It won't have an ability, but it does. It's the only dark space that actually gives you an item. So first, if you talk to Gaia here, she gives you an item. Or she tries to, if your inventory is not full. Alright, and that's all we can do if we don't have the aura. For your information, this logic, this item is not in logic until you have either slider or spin. Because at low health, these guys can be kind of a pain. And so logic won't make you do this unless you have one of those will abilities. You can go up here if you want to, and actually this is a good opportunity. If you have a bunch of hieroglyphs that are clogging up your inventory, you can place them here. So let me take a moment and give myself the inventory that I need to complete this continent. Alright, and we're back. So, these are all the things that I need for this continent. We have 6 hieroglyphs in this game, and these symbols are all really special. The order is random. In the original game, I think it's this small guy first, and then this guy's like 5th or something like that. But the order is random, and it's found in Father's journal, which is here. So we have here the aura. We need the aura in order to get pretty much all the items, except for that first item, in the pyramid. Father's journal. This gives us the code, the key, the correct hieroglyph order in order to unlock Mummy Queen. We have 6 hieroglyphs that are used in this room that I'm in right now. And they form the key that allows you to access Mummy Queen for the 5th Mystic Statue. And you have the crystal ring. Since we're including Babel in with the Northwest Continent, the crystal ring allows you to access the boss rush, along with aura. You need both the aura and the crystal ring in order to do that. And again, crystal ring you can just use, and you have it. If you have Father's journal, you can talk to this guide, and talking to him says, I'll hold on to that journal for you, come back anytime you want to read it. And so that takes it out of your inventory, so that's nice. And if you talk to him, then this 3rd page tells you the order of the hieroglyphs. So this order is, you know, what? Weird cloud, small bird, statue, smokestack, hatchet, big bird, or whatever you want to do it. We tried to come up with standard names for them, but everybody just calls them whatever they want, so it makes it difficult. So that tells you the correct order. But even if you don't know the order, you can just you know, put these in here to get some space out of your inventory as soon as you can. So if you put these all in the proper order, you'll hear this sound. There's a sound from the entrance. And this thing is here, which was not here before. And that's how you get to fight Mummy Queen. I don't want to fight Mummy Queen right now. But I do want to complete the pyramid. So again, if I want to get further in the pyramid, I'm going to need to turn into Shadow, and I'm going to need to have the aura. Now the pyramid has 6 rooms, and they require different things. So if you want to clear out the whole pyramid, then you need, of course, the aura, and you need Spin Dash. That's all you need to get all the items. There's an item here against this wall. Okay, I'm going to show you the order that I like to do these rooms. Again, these are 6 rooms, starting from the left. I go into room 5 first. This room requires shadow, and it has 2 items. And you have to double dip to get both items. Alright, one of these items, you go to the right, and you melt down this long thing for an item. You warp back to the start. You melt down back into room 5 for the second item. Now, just recently, it used to be believed that you had to have shadow to do room 5 as well as what was the other one? Room 2. But it was recently discovered that you can actually do room 2 with will. Alright, I went to the left that time. Melt down and fall down here. And it's actually faster to do it with will if you have actually, you don't even need spin dash. Yeah, you can just do it. You can do it with any of the characters, will included. Hold on. There we go. Okay, but room 3, if you want to do the Killer 6, you do need to have shadow. But again, Killer 6 is really hard. There's the end. Killer 6 is really hard, so most people save Killer 6 for the end. So typically, I death warp out of here. That turns me into will, and then I can do the rest of the rooms. So room 6 has 1 item, and if you have spin dash, it goes pretty quickly. Hidden door. Hidden door. Alright, second room. There's some invisible enemies over here. Hidden door is behind that guy right there, but if you just run right up into him, then you can just run right through him. And here's the item. We don't really want to jump in because then we have to turn back into shadow and go through all that rigmarole, so it's actually faster to death warp. Alright. That's room 6. Room 6 is done, room 5 is done. Room 4 requires spin dash. So you have to come in here as well. These guys, sometimes they cooperate. You can make them cooperate, but I'm not good enough to do that. Okay. Alright, here's where you need spin. There's an item you get from going really quickly through here. Try not to get hit by any of the mummies. Of course, I failed that miserably. And we have one more item in this room. Keep charging your spin dash because you're going to need it again. Final item. Alright, again, death warp out. Alright, 4, 5, and 6 done. Room 3 has 2 items, one of which you need spin, and it's pretty quick here at the front. And then the other one is very long and convoluted and requires shadow. And that's the Killer 6. We're going to skip Killer 6, we're just going to get this quick item right here. And there's an invisible enemy here that we can kill ourselves against. So we left an item here that we can come back for later if we need it. Room 2 is the one you can use anybody with, but it's slightly faster with Will. You hit this thing twice, and you can fall through. I'm tanking a lot of these hits because it's easy mode and it's really easy. Same thing here. 1 and 2. On the second one you don't take any damage, so you don't have to worry about that. And there's 2 items here. Here's 1 item. Don't take the portal because you're going to want to fall down and get this item. And let's death warp. 1 room to go. And again, you need will for this one. Let's keep going down, 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 down until you're out of this room. Charge up at the top of this ramp because you need its momentum to get over that one. Charge up another spin. 1 last chasm to go over, and here's the item. At this point, I would probably use this to warp back to the start, but because I usually skip Killer 6 unless I know it has something because it's so long and it's so hard. But I'm going to death warp out of here so that I can do Killer 6 for you. Yeah, that's 11 items out of the 12. The last item is in room 3 and we have to get to it as Shadow. Actually, that's not true. You can use Freedan, technically, and you can use Dark Friar, but in my experience I have not found that to be any easier than using Shadow. So I'll let you experiment with that if you want to. If you want to use Dark Friar in this 3rd room, it is possible to do. But I think it's easier just to bite the bullet and use Shadow. Alright, so here's the Killer 6. I mean, not this, but this room will eventually contain the Killer 6. Okay, here we go. We have this long elevator section. I'm going to be fast forwarding through a lot of these cutscenes. Invisible enemies, but you can block them so they don't hurt you. You can see why this room is a pain. And then after, there's an invisible enemy right there, by the way, so be careful of that. Now, okay, so not only is you have to wait for all that, but here all those lasers, these guys over here are the worst. And if you're not in easy mode, those guys can definitely kill you. So you go through all that work just to probably die at the end there. Just for this one item. Okay, we are done with the pyramid except for Mummy Queen. Alright, you want to make sure you're Shadow going into this fight. Mummy Queen is like the vampires, where she doesn't block any items or any progression. So you can wait till the end to fight her. Alright, so here she is. And this is statue 5. Okay, she has 2 phases. first phase is her being annoying, apparently. Alright, the first phase, I very much recommend having Aura equipped so that you can use the invincibility of this phase right here where those guys are floating around. You hit her once at a time while she does these rings. When she gets past half health, she has the chance to either do this attack or to do a quick ring attack, which is faster but requires you to hit a specific one of these guys to stop that pattern. Okay. That could have given me a good pattern, but it gave me a bad pattern instead. So, good pattern, except I messed it up. See, one of those guys is solid and the other ones are flashing. To stop this pattern, you have to hit the solid one. And it's really fast if you can do it right. Alright, she's not being nice to me at all. She's not giving me good patterns. Ah, to the very end. Alright, one last hit. We'll do the swag or a glitch kill. Alright, and that's the 5th Mystic statue. Okay, now what's left is Babel Tower and the mansion. And then Apocalypse Gaia. Okay, so if I want to go to the mansion, I need to have enough red jewels and talk to the jeweler. So I only have 22 jewels at this point, which is kind of a shame. But I think I might be able to fix that. Oh look, now I have 50 jewels. Okay, if he says, you're no Daisy at all, he sends you to his secret mansion. Alright, and there's one item we can get in here. Let's go ahead and, let's hold off on this. We're going to hold off on this for now. We're going to do Babel Tower first. The only way to get to Babel Tower is for Neil to take you there. Okay, so Babel Tower has 2 items, 2 dark spaces. Both of the dark spaces can have abilities. And both of the items are free. That's one. And here's the other one. Okay, now if you have the ring equipped and you have Shadow's form unlocked, you can go through. This is a dark space, of course. You can go through this barrier. If you don't have both of those things, then it kicks you back. This first guy gives you a hint. Ankor Wat has the aura. Thank you. I wouldn't be able to find you unless I had the aura, so that's nice to know. Okay. So if you need Statue 6, this is one of the ways that you could get it. Each of these doors right here is a boss fight that you've done before. We're going to skip through these pretty quickly, I think, because we've seen all these guys already. They just pack a bigger punch than before. It's literally the only difference. And also, I mean, little things like Caston has 2 diamonds floating around his, going around his head instead of just one. Alright, next up is Viper. You always change into Shadow on these, that's why you need Aura to get to this room. Alright. I think the rule of thumb is if you forget which direction you're supposed to go,
out of the even-numbered bosses, so 1, 3, and 5, that would be Cast Off, Vampires, and Mummy Queen, you go to the right. And odd-numbered bosses, which are 2 and 4, Viper and Sandfinger, you go to left. Long cutscene. This is why a lot of people who want to go quickly don't do the Babel Rush. They just skip it and they do Solid Arm instead. I'll show you that one as well. Because this is so slow. You know, just all these cutscenes, having to fight all these bosses again. Of course, doing it as poorly as I'm doing it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, just get up right on top of each other. That's what we want to see. Dude, Jack. There we go. Alright. Odd number boss, we go to the right. And here's Sandfinger. Only this time we get to fight him with Shadow, so it's a little better. Man, I can't get that cycle yet. Gotta work on that. Fast forwarding through some of this just to make it go faster. And fingers down. And long cutscene. Next up is Mummy Queen. Wait, didn't we just fight Mummy Queen? Yeah, we did. So, I'm going to fast forward to the end of this. Alright, so I'm about to defeat Mummy Queen 2.0. And this is where you would get all the upgrades from Ankor Wat if you missed any. Now you see it's refilling my health and it's giving me my full health. I now have every upgrade in the game because I beat all the bosses. Oh wait, I went the wrong way. Okay, so now all that's left is to let this bad guy take us to the top of the tower. There's one dark space to check. There it is, right there. If you talk to this guy, you can go back to Dao. But before you do that, come and get the statue by talking to Sans over here. Alright, there's the 6th statue. Now, if you warp back to Dao and you forget before grabbing the statue, it's okay, because if you defeated Mummy Queen 2.0, then this guy shows up here and he'll take you back. Okay, so if I went and talked to Gaia right now, I have everything I need to beat the game. And so she asks me, am I ready to face Dark Gaia? I'm not ready yet because I want to show you guys how to go through the mansion. Because, again, the mansion has an item in it, which may be required. And it's also faster to go through the mansion to get Statue 6 than it is to go through the Babel Boss Rush. Alright, so kill this guy. Kill this guy. Keep in mind this is easy mode and I have all my upgrades, so this is going to seem much easier than it normally will. This place also lags like a mother. You don't need anything to get the item, but you do need Slider if you want to access the boss and get the statue. Alright, so here's the item over here. Yep. If you don't need to fight the boss, feel free to death warp out of this place. But I'll go fight Solid Arm for you. Again, you have to fight him with will. There's no way to get Freejia or Shadow in here.
And there's a way to cheese this fight. Typically, basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going up to the center conveyor belt. I'm going to come right up to the bottom edge of it. I don't want to get on it because it's going to take me up into my death if I do. So I want to be right at the bottom of it. If I stand at the bottom of it, my flute is just long enough to get good 2 hits in on solid arm before he attacks me with his ranged attack, which I can block. So my pattern is going to be attack, attack, block, attack, attack, block, attack, attack, block. Now each block is going to inch me backwards, and so I'm going to be looking at the edge of my flute. If my flute gets below flush with the top of the conveyor belt, then I'm going to, next time after I block, before I attack, I'm going to tap up just a little bit to adjust myself. And I'm going to keep doing that until the end. Now it is possible if you kill him, his ranged attacks could still kill you afterwards, and so just be careful of that. Yep, it's okay to take your time getting set up. It's better than going down the conveyor belt and dying. There you go. Alright, and that takes us right here. And so, as you can see, if we don't have Statue 6 already, we can go over here and get it. We can also get to this dark space in case it has an ability. But that's the whole game, except for the final boss. So let's go do the final boss. And again, you can go to any dark space. Once you've fulfilled the requirements, you've gotten all the statues, you've freed Kara, and you have Shadow activated. We're going to go face Dark Gaia. Now again, like I said in the beginning, I did make a change. Instead of choosing Dark Gaia as the goal, I chose Apocalypse Gaia. And the reason why I did that is so that I could show off the strats for defeating this boss. Apocalypse Gaia has 5 phases. The first 2 phases are the same as Dark Gaia. So after phase 2, if you were fighting Dark Gaia, that would be the end of the game. But I chose Apocalypse Gaia so that I could show you all the phases. And let me explain Apocalypse Gaia a little bit. Well, first of all, for this, make sure you have Aura equipped. You want to let 7 of those comet sounds go by. And then you can use Aura 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that keeps you safe. But Apocalypse Gaia was the true final boss, hidden in the code that I guess Quintet didn't have the time or the resources to really finish. You know, they had like all these great ideas for this fight, and it just they couldn't do it, and so what we got was Dark Gaia. But alright, phase 2. So what we got was what we got. Block. And you're just going to spam this attack. And when she does this, melt right before she gets to you, and that's the pattern for this thing. Anyway, so they settled for Dark Gaia. Well, Raven Zero, who is one of the developers on the team for the Randomizer, has uncovered the secret final boss that was still in ROM, has patched it up, has dusted it off, and has made it playable and actually really, really fun. I'm a big fan of this fight. And so there are some strats that can make it a little less stressful for those that are interested in challenging themselves. It's very hard. It's a very difficult fight, but it's very rewarding, especially the first time you beat it. All right, so that's GG for Dark Gaia. Now we start Apocalypse Gaia. Okay, and at this point, any herbs that I have in my inventory, looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 herbs. Use those herbs liberally at this point, because what's going to happen is that if you die, a checkpoint is set at this stage, at this phase. And so this is phase 3, and all the herbs that you have at phase 3 get restored to you if you die. So, save all your herbs until this point, and use them, throughout phase 3, 4, and 5, because even if you use them all, after you die, you'll get them all back, so that's good. Alright, so I'm going to line myself up right here. As soon as they both appear, I'm going to melt once. I'm going to attack and do 2 melts in between until one of these heads is taken down. And that keeps me safe from these bubbles for the most part. Okay. One more attack, and this right head should be down. I'm going to move over to the left and do the same thing. Try to kill these bubbles while I wait. You don't want those red things to hit you because they pack a wallop, so you're going to want to make sure you do aura before that happens. Alright, phase 3 is almost done. Okay, I'm going to melt a few times just to avoid all this chaos right here. And I'm going to wait until the head gets over to my side. I'm going to spam him over here, melt. Holding block, spam, melt, hold block, spam attack, melt, hold block. Alright, that's phase 4. Alright, now phase 5. It's all about bobbing and weaving. Alright, make sure to listen for this sound, because that means that a green thing is coming at you and you want to block. Alright. Melt when he comes at you. I forgot to melt. You gotta kill these other heads. Keep blocking the greens before you can damage the main head. Melt. Yep, so that's the pattern. So you hit him, you hit the main head once, he bull rushes you, so you're going to want to do an aura. And then he surrounds himself with lesser heads. All the while shooting these green and red orbs at you. The red orbs are not blockable, so just try to dodge them as much as you can. Alright, we got one more hit on her. You can use Aura Glitch for this if you want to. Take out a bunch of those at once. Alright, final hit. There we go. That's Apocalypse Gaia. Alright, so that's the game. I'm going to go ahead and pause it. So that's the tutorial for the Illusion of Gaia randomizer with Apocalypse Gaia. And again, as you can read, you can play this at iogr.app. You need a US version of the ROM in order to activate the randomization tools. And this is just a basic, the basic settings and flags. There are lots of other flags that you can play with. There's a README that should explain everything that's special about the randomizer, and there's also a Discord that you can join. That's also linked in the README as well. And thank you all for your interest in this game. It's been so fun to work on. Hope to see lots of people streaming this game. It's a lot of fun to watch as well. Alright, take care everybody. Thanks for watching.